What's up, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Let's Get Deep. I'm your host, Keith Allen, and today's guest is originally from Mexico. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a radio host who also serves as the communications manager for Encuentro, which is an organization that helps immigrants in education and career development. She serves as an activist for immigrants, as she is an immigrant herself, now a U.S. citizen. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the one and only Ilse Grijalva.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Hey, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me here.
Thank you for being a part of this. I love that you're here because normally you're on the other side of the mic. You are doing the interviewing. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah.
And normally you do it in Espanol.
That's also correct,
So
yeah.
This is your first long-form interview in English.
This is my grand opening. Yeah, basically. And like I say, this is the very first time someone is interested about telling my story, about asking me about my story, and being seen on the other side of the table. It feels weird, let me tell you.
It's all good. Okay, so originally you're not originally from America. You are from Juarez?
Delicia, Chihuahua. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's
ready?
get this party started. How did this all happen? How did you end up here in this podcast studio?
Well, again, my name is Ilse Grijalva. I'm a proud immigrant, born and raised in Mexico, Delicia, Chihuahua, Mexico, which is a small city south on Chihuahua. But I have to say that I feel also New Mexican since I've been living here for more than half of my life.
Half your life?
Yeah. And my daughter was born here as well. This is the land that has seen me growing as a professional. I got married here, so I can tell that, I'm so grateful to this land that I can now say that I'm a proud New Mexican as well.
Nice.
Right? And yeah, I'm so grateful for the many opportunities that this land has provided me. Like I said, I was born and raised at Delicia, Chihuahua, Mexico. My parents brought me when I was 14 years old. And they told me that, you know what, Mija, we're going to have to go to Albuquerque. I don't even know what Albuquerque was. And because we're going to go on vacation. Me and your mom, we're going to be working a few months during the summer to save some money. And then we're going to come back so you can start high school. Because I actually graduated from middle school. As soon as I graduated from middle school, we crossed the border. And something that I didn't know that I learned over the time, it was that we came because we wasn't financially stable. My parents, they did a great job hiding that we weren't like having enough money for food and things like that, which I didn't know. I genuinely thought that we were gonna be here for vacation, for holidays. So that's how on 2007, my parents, my little brother, who is 5 years younger than I, we came to Albuquerque with just a backpack and a suitcase, and that was it. We pretty much left everything behind.
Whoa.
Like everything, family, furniture, our home, our house, everything. So it was tough and it was hard. And I genuinely believe, like I said, that it was going to be a vacation time. I'm like, it makes sense to me only to bring one backpack and a suitcase, I'm like, hey, we're going to stay there for a couple of months and then we're going to come back. We don't need much, right?
When did you find out it was longer than a vacation?
When my mom took me to high school, to register me for high school.
Whoa.
Yeah, we got here in June. And then we actually, we ended up here in Albuquerque because my father's sister, she used to live here before, and she was the one who welcomed us on her mobile home. And it's so weird because sometimes you receive the support and the help from people who is not your family. Why am I mentioning this? Because, yeah, she's the one who welcomed us at the very beginning, but after a few days, she was like, you guys going to have to go. There's not enough space here for all of us. And yeah, you got to do what you got to do, but not here. Right?
Whoa.
And I will say at the Occidencia, which is like a casualty from God. That's how I call this type of experiences. My dad ran into one of his best friends from they were a child. It was a family who migrated 10 years before us. And he ran into her best friend on a supermarket. They recognized each other, and suddenly they became our greatest support system.
Nice.
They were basically the ones who, I can call them Uncle Sergio, Auntie Gloria, because we're the ones who welcome us as for a second time. They basically let us use their RV. That they had an RV parking on their backyard, and we lived there for 2 months. And it was great because they gave us all the support we need at that time.
At the time, were you, so you were a teenager, were you?
I was 14.
How did you react when you found out? Were you pissed? Or were you happy that you weren't going back?
I was so mad at my mom and my dad. I cried nights and nights. I was at an Airbnb, living there, and I cried. I'm like, I was supposed to have my quinceañera this year.
Oh, no.
Just like all my friends, they were having their quinceañera back in Mexico, and I was seeing, we only had one phone back then, right? So I was just seeing pictures from my friend's quinceañera. And since my Auntie Gloria, who's not even my blood auntie, it's the one that I adopted, she decided to organize me a quinceañera on their backyard.
Nice.
With their own resources, with their own guests. I mean, I didn't know anyone on that party, but it had, I will carry that in my heart for the rest of my life. I remember that she even bought my quinceañera dress on a yard sale for $20, which I still have. I don't fit in my quinceañera dress anymore, but I have it in my closet.
That's
and sweet. I will say the date that changed everything, it was my very first day of high school, when I realized, okay, this is serious, right? We're going to stay here for more than just summer. And that was on September of 2007.
Did you speak English?
No,
at the time?
no,
No English?
no, nothing.
Wow.
The only reference that I had about a high school, it was a High School Musical movie that I used to watch on Mexico.
Nice.
And it's so funny because last week I served as a panelist for a youth group of advocacy, and I was telling exactly the same thing, this in memory. And when I say High School Musical movie, they were like, I felt so old. Because for me, it's like, it's something...
Zac Efron.
Exactly, right? And these guys, I think they were like in between their 15, 19s, and they don't even know like High School Musical. I'm like, how do you know? I don't know about High School Musical. Anyways, that very first day that I went to Valley High School, I had my schedule in my hand, and I didn't know where to start. I mean, I didn't know how to read a schedule. So I went to the assistant principal, and who I knew speaks Spanish. To ask for help, and I was like, can you help me out? I mean, where should I go, right? He looked at me, and she was saying to me in Spanish, I don't know why people like you keep coming to this country. You don't even know how to read a schedule. I don't think you're gonna make it through the year.
Damn.
And that I swear,
from the assistant principal.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And I won't say her name, but she's from Valley High School. I don't know if she still works there. Anyways, so that day, that changed everything to me. Because she even said something about, you don't even speak English. What are you going to do? Something like that. And then somehow I got to the room. I got to the classroom. And you know how the classroom doors has a little glass windows. I looked through it. And then I started hearing it was a geometry class. I don't even know my numbers in Spanish, neither in English, I have always hated math. So I'm like, I cannot do this. She's right. I don't even know what am I doing here, So I ran away as far as I could. I don't know where I was going, but I ran away. And a police ran after me, started chasing me. And that was another cultural shock, because in Mexico, you don't have like police officers walking around the campus or walking around the schools, right? So I'm like, am I getting arrested for running away? So it was awful. And this guy, I cannot remember what he was saying, because he was speaking in English. And once he realized I wasn't understanding, he was like, okay. He started to talk to me in Spanish. He will say, ¿A dónde vas? Where are you going? Where do you think you're going? You gotta go back to your class. And I told him, I don't know anything. I don't know English. I don't know anything. So he took my hand, and he literally take me to the classroom, and he literally sat me down to take the class. And for that year, I didn't want even to be seen. I didn't want anyone to talk to me in English. I will avoid any contact in English, because I'm like, I'm not good enough to do this. and I don't understand, and they're gonna laugh. The few times that I try to speak English at a class, they will laugh at me, or they will call me different names, nicknames that I don't even want to mention.
So at what point did you decide to get over the hump, try to start learning all that stuff? Or was it just,
It took me years. It took me years, and I actually, a year later, I will say it on my 11, when I was a junior to senior, I realized that I wasn't the only one not understanding because I didn't know what a transcript was. I didn't know that I was able to get free items from the cafeteria, that there was programs to support my, to pay for my lunch. So I didn't know anything, and no one helped me out. So when I realized that there were more people, newcomers, in the same situation, I talked to one of my, I always gonna call her Angel. Her name is Marisa Silva, who used to be my history teacher. She's a Latina. And I'm like, Miss, I want to do something. Is there anything I can do to support other people to get through high school? Newcomers who doesn't understand the educational system. And she was like, why don't we do this group? And that's how we found a cool group called Manos Latinas. And I created my own community in high school.
Nice.
So, and I even graduated with a high GPA and with my bilingual seal. Don't ask me how I did it, because at that point, when I graduated from high school, I was somehow like avoiding any English contact with. I mean, I didn't had any like English speaker friends or anything like that because I was so ashamed.
Wow. At what? When did you get over the hump of the shame, or do you still feel it to this day? I don't know if that's a loaded question.
That's a lot of questions. Once I graduated from high school, I went to UNM, and being on UNM made me feel empowered, right? Empowered. And then I had my Bridge Scholarship, so I felt happy. I feel like, I'm at the right place. I can do this. I mean, I'm here for something, right? For a reason. And again, it happened again at UNM. One of my English teacher, it was the middle of the semester, and she will say, you know what, you don't have what it takes to be here in the class, and my recommendation is for you to go to an ESL class at CNM, but not to continue here at UNM. You can keep coming to the class, but I'm not gonna like even consider you part of the class. So I'm like, shit, no, it's and it was that day. It was also like it took me back to the very first day of high school.
Isn't that weird that like that was sort of your normal of people saying this shit to you? Like that doesn't it doesn't happen to everyone, and that's something that's weird that it's a recurring thing, right? That people speak down on you like that.
Right. And at that time I didn't know how to advocate for myself. I wasn't really involved in the community as I am today. And it's something like that happened to me today. Oh God, no, So that's how I dropped off from UNM. I went to CNM. I majored at a criminologist. Don't ask me why, because I hate blood and I hate crimes. And however, the same thing happened at CNM. I was avoiding the English, and I didn't like my accent. At classes, I was basically running when it was time of doing presentations in front of people. I ran away, and I was so frustrated because I used to say people, how smart I am in Spanish, because I was so frustrated. I mean, I consider myself a Spanish speaker. I think I have an AP level of Spanish, so that's why it was so frustrating for me not being able to express myself in English.
That must be so gnarly to have basically an AP level of knowledge of one language and just to feel
not enough another language,
elementary in another. That must be so bizarre.
It is.
I never thought of that possibility, because so all of this is the foundation of why you currently do what you do. Is that
during
correct?
that time? Yeah, I made something about me is that I'm a very outgoing person. I love socializing. I love networking. I will always say to people, never underestimate the power of networking. And I think that was one of the things that introduced me to the community in some way, because I learned that there was organizations, not-profit organizations, who were advocating for people like my parents, like myself. And it was during that time at college that I learned about El Centro de Igualdad de Derechos, which is a social justice organization that fights and that advocates for immigrants and workers' rights. Enlace Comunitario, which is they fight against domestic violence. Encuentro, which is a nonprofit I work for, and I started doing just volunteer work with them, just knocking at the doors and say, "Hey, I'm here to help. Tell me what to do." Even though I know anything about civic engagement, I know anything about I know nothing. About civic engagement, nothing about leadership, but I'm here to learn, right? And because of all of those years of volunteer work, at that time I was also working at a McDonald's.
Nice.
With I don't know if I can say this in public, but like any other immigrants who doesn't have a social with a fake one.
Whoa.
Yeah.
How is that? I don't even know. That's a whole nother
conversation, right?
Subgenre of actively. I mean, I worked with people in restaurants, lots of people in the back of the house that didn't have their paperwork or things like that. So.
And McDonald's knew. I mean, the company knew.
I
mean,
fascinating.
They knew.
That's interesting.
They knew because when I got my DACA, when I got my social, I went to the office at McDonald's and I was like, I'm gonna change my social, and then they're like, okay. We exchanged social numbers. I'm like, they know.
So you got your citizenship through DACA? Is that what it? Yeah.
No, and that happened years later.
Okay.
Where am I? And then I got involved, and then I got a job at the Mexican consulate as a DACA. I got DACA on 2012 when Barack Obama signed this Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals, and which grant, for people who doesn't know, this deferred action will grant dreamers the possibility to stay in this country legally, a work permit for I think 2 or 3 years, something like that. So my brother and we were able to meet the requirements, which is great because I think it was for a matter of a week that almost we didn't make it, because because in order for you to get the DACA, you needed to be here before a certain date. And I think it was a matter of 1 week, something like that. We almost didn't meet the criteria for DACA.
Well, what did it feel like once you got it and you're officially a citizen? How did it feel?
It feels great.
Yeah.
And especially because I got a job at the Mexican consulate. And because of my level of Spanish and knowledge about Mexican history and everything, and my involvement with the community, they hired me as a part of the protection department. I started on the documentation department, which is the area in charge of making the passports, the matrícula consular, and the dual citizenship and stuff like that. And after that, they gave me my own office, and I serve as a protection agent. I was the one doing the visitations to the immigration detained people who was about to get the border. I was the one doing the visitations to them and make sure they were okay, they were receiving what they need, etc.
Were they always getting what they needed?
No.
Okay.
No, unfortunately, no. But as a consulate, I mean, you can advocate, but there's almost nothing you can do, honestly.
Is it as bad as the media makes it out to be? The situation for immigrants that are
and the detention centers?
Yes.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. And we actually have organizations such as ACLU, New Mexico Immigrant Law Center, who are currently advocating to improve those conditions or either close the detention centers, those immigration detention centers.
Okay, let's open up a can of worms. There's everything going on with the current administration right now. They're considering revoking DACA. They're considering doing a whole bunch of stuff, blocking up the border. I don't even know where to begin on this topic. First of all, how do you feel about the current landscape of all of this going on with the current administration, their treatment of immigrants, and how people perceive immigrants?
It's awful. It is. I mean, even because I know a lot of people will say that you're a citizen now, you have nothing to worry about. That's people who doesn't know anything about immigration, right? And I mean, we are under I mean, we are under we are being targeted by an administration, right? And they feel like they can detain us just because the way we look. I mean, I look Mexican, and they can come after me because of the way I look. So that doesn't mean I'm safe. That means that I'm exposed to one of those episodes when they will come after me because of X reason and they will detain me. This administration, what it's doing is criminalizing in people.
Being an immigrant.
Being an immigrant and crossing the border. For what I know, it's a civil offense. It's not a criminal thing. But if you ask the White House, they would say it's a criminal felony. And that's why they want to. They are actually working right now on enforcing the security on the borders. You will see a lot of more CBP people. You will see even the way that they treat us change, because I am one of those persons who go to Juarez every month to get dental services and medical service because they're less expensive there in Mexico. And when this Donald Trump won the presidency, and the very first time that I came from Juarez once he won, even the CBP agents were like so rude at me because they hear my accent. They're like, "Are you sure you're from United States?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a citizen." Are you sure this isn't fake? Like that. I swear.
You know that I feel you because I used to travel overseas, and I started in 2012. And from 2012 to 2016, when I tell people I'm American, people would be like, "Nice, that's so cool."
That's so cool.
And as soon as 2016 hit, people would be like, "Oh, you're American? Oh, that sucks, man. I'm sorry." Right. And it just sucks that that's how it is now. And it's so weird that it's 2025 and people can be targeted for the way they look, their accent,
exactly,
and illegally too.
Right, and I mean, the same with my parents. My parents, I mean, I got married. I was able to get the citizenship through marriage because my husband, he's from El Paso. So that means that I got married in 2017, I think. And then 2 years later, I applied for the citizenship. I passed my test and everything. And then the very next day of my citizenship ceremony, I applied for the green card for my parents. I didn't wait not even a week to apply for them. I was so eager to give them the stability, right? And even though they know how the green card, my parents, they doesn't speak English very well, so I feel the need of protecting them. They don't have us right now. They don't have a medical insurance. My parents are afraid as well. I have to train them about their rights. The same workshop that I provide to the community about know your rights workshops, is the same information I have to tell my parents.
What are some of those rights that you have to teach them? Like, what are some of the basic things that
you have the right to remain in silence, that you have the right to seek for legal assistance, that you have the right not to let officers let them into your house, get into your house, that you have the right of, what else? Ooh.
That's so nuts that you have to teach them this. That's a part
it's
of
awful.
what's going on.
I mean,
Yeah, it shouldn't be like that.
We are so advanced when it comes to technology and all the stuff, and we're still getting behind when it comes to human rights. I mean, the immigration system hasn't changed much in the last 60 years. I mean, and even though we have faced this before, because this guy was already a president of like one term ago, right? It feels different somehow, this administration. It feels so different. There is a phrase that people always say in my community that will say a lot, that says undocumented and unafraid. And I understand where this phrase come from. It comes from the resilience. It comes from our desire to say, I'm not afraid and I'm going to stay here because I've been working for this. But I also know that my community is afraid, and it's okay to say it aloud. I will always tell people, I mean, we're tired of fighting sometimes. And it's okay to take breaks, to step back for a little bit, and to recharge your energy, because media is making all this so difficult now with all the misinformation. And my people is afraid. We all afraid. Me as a citizen, I'm afraid for my parents, because they will hear that they don't speak the language. They have to carry with them little cards that says, I'm a green card holder. I have the right to remain in silence. I don't speak English, but I have rights, and I know my rights, and I want to call my lawyer. So they have to carry those little red cards with them to show them in case something happens. And that's awful. That's just awful because behind every person who's been deported, there's a story, and there is families being separated. I have known stories of families who are being deported at this time, whose children are sick, had cancer, and those are kids that got to stay here because they're citizen. But they're pretty much, they have to, their parents, what they're doing now is they're providing this power of attorneys to leave your kids in charge of someone else. That's something the parents we are pushing to people to do, so they can take care of their children to someone else in case they got deported, so the kids can stay in.
So their kids are here. Their sick kids are here seeking medical treatment, and they get deported and have to leave their sick kid behind in the custody of someone else that they give the power of attorney to.
And a lot of people will say, well, these parents should take their kids with them. I'm like, it's not that easy. I mean, they're taxed from their privilege, right? There are families who have been here for more than 30, 40 years. I mean, it's awful that people doesn't realize the contributions that we make. Economic, I mean, billions of dollars. We are more than 13 million immigrants in the United States. We contribute with billions of dollars on labor, spending, and taxes.
And we're a country founded by immigrants.
By the way, right? I mean,
my mom is every single person in this country, other than the indigenous population, are all immigrants. And that's totally so weird for them to colonize and just treat it like their own and tell everyone that they can't. It's so far-fetched. And for some reason, people can't wrap their brain around that. And how does that make you feel about the country itself? Like America, you came here in pursuit of the dream, or your parents came here in pursuit of the dream. Do you love it? Do you hate it? Like, where do you currently stand on this entire
this is
situation?
so hard. This is so hard.
And it's okay either way. I mean, I say America breaks my heart every day. I love it, but I fucking hate it at the same time.
Like I said, I'm so proud of being raised or being here in New Mexico, because we are one of the states who are immigrant friendly. Yeah. And so I'm so glad that God put me here. I think I had a mission here. That's why I'm here. I'm so grateful to my parents, because thanks to them, I have what I have. I have a healthy family. I have grown professionally in ways that I never thought that it was going to be possible. And I have my own house. And so I feel somehow disappointed of the whole country, because I cannot understand how someone can put on the White House a guy like his, right? Like his, right?
It's
so I don't conceive the idea, if that makes sense. And it's scary to know that, because sometimes you were asking me about my accent and the language. Sometimes I am afraid of speaking Spanish in a convenience store, on a gas station. When we go, for example, to Texas, I told my daughter, don't speak Spanish.
Oh,
Mama, come over here. Sometimes, and I have to say it because it's not reality, right? I'm so freaking proud of who I am. But sometimes especially when I travel anywhere on Texas, I'm like, I told my husband, don't speak English, don't speak Spanish. Because I think he's racist. Because, so I'm afraid that some guy's gonna come after us and say, go back to your country, you know? I don't want to expose my daughter to that. But at the same time, I want her to embrace who she is and to feel proud of who she is. So I'm in between, you know. It's tough. It's tough.
It's bizarre because we're like just like 2 months ago, we're on the verge of like a very all-inclusive, a lot of very accepting of a lot of different cultures, a lot of different backgrounds, and now it kind of feels like we just like pressed rewind by 70 years, and like no one really. I don't know. It's so weird to think that a country founded by immigrants can behave in such a manner.
Totally.
And I don't know. I don't know what to where to go from here. As a that's something that I want to know is like, where do you go from here? Do you just continue fighting the good fight? Do you try to present a new standard of sorts, or is there any part of you that's ever like, you know what? Fuck this, I'm leaving.
No, just because throughout my pathway here and my journey here in the United States, I have learned that the reason why I'm here it's because to do what I'm doing right now. So with my community journalistic group, because I'm like you were saying, I'm the communications manager at a nonprofit called Encuentro. We provide professional and career development opportunities for the immigrant adult people. And I also serve as the coordinator of this amazing community journalism group called Tu Voz Digital. And which that group, my goal has always been to change the narratives that are negative narratives that are around our communities. That because they're criminalizing. They always say we're criminals. So
yeah, how do you feel about that narrative that it's just washed across the board that immigrants are just being labeled as criminals by the current administration?
That means that doesn't know the reality. I mean, I think they
he's married to an immigrant.
He probably forgot about that, right? And she has the same accent I got. And it took me like 15 years to embrace my accent.
What was the trigger? What made you embrace your accent? What was the turning point? That you're like, you know what? I got a cool accent.
Being exposed to this type of environments, being exposed to English speaker events, something that I wasn't doing back on my 20s. I'm starting to do it now, and a lot of people will come to me like, I love your accent. You speak so well. You're so fluent. And I'm like, probably they all believe in me. Everybody believes in me, but except me, you know?
A lot of English speakers wish they had an accent. Wish they had an exotic accent. You know, like when I meet Italian guys, I'm like, oh man, I wish I sounded like that Italian guy or something. Or a lot of people love Sofia Vergara's accent on Modern Family. I was going to say Sofia or
Salma Hayek, right? Yeah. And I'm like, this is not that bad, right? So yeah, but it took me years. And for example, me accepting this interview was like I can do this. It took me like weeks to prepare myself for this moment. So that's why I have so much appreciation towards you guys for lending me your hand and providing me this space to talk.
You're killing it so far. You've already made it halfway. Nice. So let's see. So you are. You mentioned a couple weeks ago that you were protesting in regards to immigration rights. Is that correct? Something?
Yeah, that was on February, the beginning of February, I think. It was the Immigrant and Workers Date of Action.
Okay.
More than 1,000 people went to Santa Fe from different organizations and from the community itself. We went, workers, we went to Santa Fe to protest for our rights and to advocate for those bills that are being put on the table on the legislation right now. And
okay, I have a couple questions to unpack on that. Some people, not myself, but some people would say protesting isn't what it used to be. It doesn't have the effect that it used to have, and that it's pointless. So we should be doing other things with our time. What do you say about that?
I mean, that's being proactive, I think. Don't you think? I mean, that's doing something. And we did it in a very pacific way. I mean, we didn't stop the traffic or anything. We did it in a very respectful way because we respect other people's spaces. And if we're asking respect, the least we can do is give respect to others, right? So that day, it was a very powerful day because we show the New Mexican legislation. We're here. We are more than 1,000 people. And people from different contexts, little kids, and not only from nonprofit organizations who are actually the ones who are on the protest. We saw for the very first time in years a lot of more community gathering.
Okay. My question to you is, you mentioned earlier in the interview, you are now a citizen. Some people ask, why do you even care? So my question to you is, why do you still care if you're now a citizen and you don't got to deal with the bullshit? You know, you ain't getting deported anytime soon. So why do you still care?
Because this is a community I grew up with, and because I'm part of that community, and
nice.
Because I want my daughter. I want my daughter to care about her community as much as I am doing it right now. and I want her to be to embrace who she is. And I'm also doing this because of my parents.
Why do you care about the community? Some people don't. Some people
Right.
just care about themselves. The current landscape is normalizing being selfish and not caring about other people other than yourself. Like
That's
if you
sad.
live
Yeah.
in Ohio and you're a white person and you're a
Mm-hmm.
citizen, why should you care? It's not gonna affect you, and that's become very normal in today's society. So now that you are kind of out of the system, you know,
Right.
you're a citizen. Why do you choose to still care about the community?
Because the mean that I'm a citizen doesn't mean I'm not an immigrant. I'm still being an immigrant. So
Ah,
they are
nice.
immigrants, so I'm still part of them. And because they deserve to be supported. I mean, they as my parents, I was telling you about my parents, for example, my parents doesn't even have a ticket on their record. They don't want it to be seen, even though they now have their social security number. They don't even have friends because they don't want to get in any trouble. So when I see my community and I see my parents working, and I see kind of like the same situation going on around our community. So all I see on my community is people working very hard, 1, 2, 3 jobs, and wanting to pursue their education, wanting to improve their lifestyle. And why? I mean, I think it's one of the reasons I think God put me here in the community to serve.
Nice.
And like I say, because whenever I see my community members, I see my parents fighting for their kids.
Isn't it weird that they get their citizenship and they can't even be like, "Yo, look, I got my citizen." They're kind of like, let's just, they kind of just don't want to
That
talk about
happens
it.
a lot. Yeah, that happens a lot.
Isn't that weird? That's
That happens a lot.
bizarre.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's
yeah.
unfortunate because they should celebrate that. That is something to be proud of. Okay, new developments ever since 2 days ago. I don't know if you heard. We talked about this right before the interview. Mahmoud Khalil, a Palestinian immigrant, he had his, or they're threatening to, they already arrested him to revoke his green card for protesting on behalf of Palestine. So here we have a precedent of talking about activism, talking about protesting. Here we have an immigrant that is exercising his First Amendment and is practicing his freedom of speech. And now they are threatening to revoke his green card for speaking out against everything that's going on, or the way they label it, supporting terrorist organizations or something. What new political reality are we entering that we can't even protest now, and they could threaten to revoke? Let's say you do go through the process, you do get your green card and everything is legal. Now they're setting up the precedent of being able to revoke said green card for speaking out against them.
I think that's what scares me the most, that we are not even respecting neither the Constitution, not even our human rights, but the Constitution itself. And that's what scares me the most, and that nobody's doing anything about it, right?
Isn't that weird?
And it's awful. It's awful. And the fact that everything is so uncertain. I mean, everything can change from one day to another. That's what scares me the most, and that's what is scaring my people the most. I have my my professional Facebook page on Facebook, and since I'm the one I'm always sharing community events or human right know your rights workshops, or I'm always sharing resources to the community. So people now, a lot of members of my community, and because of my job as a radio host on a Mexican radio station, they started to see me as a reference when it comes to asking questions about immigration. And I will never tell anyone, don't be scared. I think, like I was saying at the beginning of the interview, I think it's okay to be scared because we don't even know. I mean, we don't know what's gonna happen tomorrow. That doesn't mean that you gotta live like that every single day of your life. My invitation to people will always be get informed through reliable sources. Don't share information about deportations if you don't know if that's something that is really happening, because the only thing you will know is putting panic on people. So that would always be my recommendation. So just be aware, proactive. Don't stay at your house. Go out and seek for information. Get involved in the community. And you can be scared. You have the right to be scared. And if you feel like you need to step back because on media it's everything's so crazy, I will always say people, it's totally okay. For example, for my podcast, I've been inviting a couple of friends, and some of them who has amazing stories behind their professional backgrounds, behind their migration, and they're like, you know what, I don't feel ready to be on social media right now.
Wow.
We feel like we are like in a funeral as right now since this guy won. That's why you haven't seen me so much on social media. So
Oh my.
so
goodness.
a lot of my closest friends who graduate from college, who are doing now, who are doctors now, who came from different states from Mexico, who has these really powerful stories, they will say, give me a minute. I need to step back for a little bit. I won't do any social media until next year, until we see what happens.
It is nuts that a funeral is the analogy that was used to describe the current landscape of what is going on. And something I've noticed lately is, I grew up in a predominantly white, privileged place where, whatever, but they, it's weird to think that, let's say my father, for example, let's say a white person in Pennsylvania, he's a citizen, blah, 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 all that stuff, that his reality is his reality, while at the same time, your friends have the reality that is being referenced to a funeral. Simultaneously, those exist at the exact same time,
Right.
which is very
Ironic, right?
so ironic in the land of opportunity and in America. Let's talk about something a little bit more lighthearted. Let's talk about Mexico. I've never been. What's Mexico like?
You should.
I should go. Although we did live in California, and people would always talk smack on Tijuana, and I don't know why. Like I know a lot of people that would go there for dentistry stuff, because it was mad cheap. But we never went because people would always be like, "Oh, it's so dangerous," and the media and all that. So, what is Mexico like to you, to me, if I go? Depending on like where you're from, what is it like? Take me through it.
Well, it's a small city. It's like I said, it's called Delicias, Chihuahua. It's a very small city. I will say that Mexico is as dangerous as any city of the United States of the world. I mean,
Like Albuquerque?
Albuquerque, it's a dangerous city. I mean,
Oh yeah. Especially
and the
around Zuni and
difference is the
Louisiana.
food. I will really highlight the Mexican food because I think it's the best.
Nice.
And a lot of people will say that. And but it's a calm city. I mean, usually lives in Mexico goes more like in the slow pace.
Okay.
So when you migrate, people here will tell you, my people will tell you, lives in the United States go so fast that you don't even leave. You just come to work.
Oh, that's
So,
deep. We
'cause
were
that-
just talking about that this morning.
And in Mexico, I remember that I had more time to do things after work. You go to visit your relatives. You don't have to make an appointment to go and see a relative. And here, everything is with agenda.
I got my calendar.
Yeah, let me check on my calendar. Yeah. And then they seem so short in comparison to Mexico.
Ah.
Oh, yeah. That's how the majority of us perceive Mexico as a more calm. I mean, obviously there are danger. I think Tijuana is one of the most dangerous states as right now. But like I said, if you're involved in the narcotráfico and all that stuff, I mean, that's hard not to be exposed to danger, right? But if you live your life and I mean, yeah, there's not everything is bad in Mexico.
Okay, I have a question. I watched Narcos Mexico, and is it as in the in front of you as it is in the show? Like basically the way they're presented in the show is like you just got narcos traffic going on, gun violence going on everywhere. Like it's just you could just be a normal citizen, normal human being, and you just got shit going on around you. Is it like that, or is it like?
I hate that even in those series they portray Mexico as a yellow shit. They put some yellow pictures, and I don't know. It's I don't know. A lot of people, especially people who advocate for the community, we hate that the only reference that people has about Mexico are because of the narco stories.
Wow.
There's so much behind it. There's so much good movies about Mexico, but they don't have the expose that they should have, right? That's how a lot of that's one of the dangers of media, right?
That's like
that they show
Breaking
you what
Bad
to
with New
portray.
Mexico.
Yeah. It's dangerous because media has the power, and the companies, the major companies, they have the power to show you whatever is more convenient for them. for them. And then, when people, this is not the first time that someone asked me about that, just because the only reference these people have is the narcotráfico and the series. And are very successful series on Netflix about narcos.
That was like #1 for a long time.
And that is so sad. So yeah, it's tough.
Wow.
And then...
Should we go? If I were to go to Mexico, where should I go? Should I go like
I think you're
Mexico City? Should I go like
you gotta do Mexico City.
Mexico City?
Yes, it has a little bit of everything. And Mexico is one of the richest countries when it comes to ecosystems and little pueblitos mágicos, which are like magical towns. And I will provide you with all the information you need to visit those little towns. And
is it
Mexico
like Coco?
City.
I just watched Coco the other day.
That's a good reference.
It's very colorful.
It's very colorful and full of tradition, full of culture, full of people. Music obviously.
Nice.
La Santa Cecilia, who's a saint of the music. And there are amazing places in Mexico. Not everything is about the border. Not everything is about Tijuana or Juarez. You should,
Okay.
You look from Google for pueblos mágicos, and you will see a whole list of, I don't know how many pueblos mágicos we have. I will say more than 30, and just like the Coco ones.
Okay, so to try to get rid of a terrible narrative, what you're saying is I could go to Mexico City and be chilling, going to these little pueblitos, going around, eating some good food, listening to good music, and not worried about getting kidnapped and whatever they portray in the media.
I just feel like, you gotta be careful, right? About just surround us.
You gotta be careful everywhere. You gotta be careful in Chicago.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like in California or New York, there is danger everywhere you go. Well, the only thing is you are involved with any narco or a crime group, then expect something bad.
You worked with the Mexican media, right? Didn't you used to do a lot of radio stuff there and work for TV shows?
The Mexican consulate. Which is Mexico has the most has 53 consulates around the United States. And when I mentioned that I did radio, it was because I was on a FM radio called La Mexicana not so long ago. I don't know if that's what you referred to.
I don't know. I know in California, actually, I catered. I was a server for the Mexican consulate one of the ones there. And first thing they did, everyone got a little glass of some really fine tequila, and everyone was just sipping on tequila. And I was like, this is, wow. You don't really do that in America all that much. People don't just sip on tequila, and they were just doing it. If I sipped on tequila, I'd be like, oh God, I was just very impressed with how they took their tequila.
How they took their tequila,
That was cool. Okay, so
I worked there for, I would say, 5 years, and I created a pretty strong networking because I was I was on the protection department, but then I became engaged with the community engagement department. So I was the one doing health fairs, the week of education, the week of labor. So I was the one reaching out to organizations from all around New Mexico. So on my wedding, you should see my wedding, pretty much all the invites of the guests on my wedding were people from Española, the president of the Clovis Community College, or Telemundo, Univision, lawyers, because since I don't have a family here, more relatives other than my parents and my brother, so my community became my family, my place to go. So nice. In my wedding, you will see a community, local famous people. When my guest.
When I was younger, I learned a little bit of Spanish, but when I was younger, the way I would try to learn Spanish is I would watch Telemundo, and I just remember, or listen to it on the radio, and I just remember that voice where the person would be like, Telemundo, punto, just say some stuff. And that was one of my main references to learning Spanish.
Yeah, well, a lot of people,
they would always dance. They'd always dance on the show. There was always just a whole bunch of people just dancing. Whatever the show was.
Right.
Or either that or the really dramatic soap operas where they would like slap each other and stuff. Yeah.
So I fell in love with communications through during my journey as an immigrant, right? I started doing online radio when I was working at the consulate. I used to have my own studio with a couple of friends, and we were doing online stuff. And then after that, I got the opportunity to serve as at a local FM studio called La Mexicana, and I love entertaining people. I freaking love with in a meaningful way, because I'm always the one who entertain people, but always been sharing stuff here and there and informing people.
So you would live this dual reality of, at one point in the day, you would be the entertainer, you would be the life of the party, you would be the person talking the most, and then you would go somewhere where you bottle up and are self-conscious of your accent and don't want to talk, and because you're surrounded by everyone that speaks English. That's got to be so
bizarre,
gnarly.
right?
Yeah.
I just realized that hearing you. Yeah. Years ago, if you put me in a place where, in a room full of people, white people, English speaker people, I will go like, I don't want it to be seen.
Wow.
And I had to fight with my desire of being in front of all of them because I love being in front of a microphone.
How you feel now?
Yeah.
How you feel now?
I feel good, and I'm actually, part of my job is also providing workshops about public speaking and how to facilitate a workshop. I have created my own curriculum. I do this within my work role, but I also started to doing this as a contractor for other organizations, because public speaking trainers in Spanish are not happening that often. And that is something I'm offering to the community, so they can learn what it mean to be a leader in the community, what it mean to advocate, and to teach them, because I also it's public speaking, how to facilitate a workshop, and what's a leader in the community. So I love being the person who help people to realize their power as leaders. I mean, we are all leaders in different contexts, right? But what does it mean to be a community leader? And public speaking workshops, I teach them how to use body language. I teach my people how to present themselves, their speech, how to be elevator speech, basically.
Did you ever think you would end up in this position?
Never in my freaking life. No.
How's that make you feel? That you went from 14-year-old that spoke no English in the back of her class, running away from class, to now
crying in the bathroom.
Crying in the bathroom,
Literally.
and now you are on the front lines of rights, of presenting yourself, of doing things legally, of establishing yourself. What a growth pattern. That's incredible.
Well, I feel so proud, and especially because of my mom and my dad.
Shout out to mom and dad.
Definitivamente, who I owned everything. It's so funny because my husband, once I got married, he wanted me to change my last name to Arreguin. That's her last name. And I'm like, no, I'm a Grijalva because of my parents. I'm doing what I'm doing. And when I'm famous presenting a news show, or when I'm famous doing my national-wide radio show, I want Grijalva to show up there.
Wow,
so that's why I never
nice.
changed my last name, because how proud I feel about my parents taking the decision to leave everything behind. They were 35 years old. Imagine, they were my age when they decided to leave everything. My grandmother, which is my mom's my father's mom, she died 5 years ago, and he wasn't able to go the day he died. He basically watched FaceTime my mother-in-law funeral, my abuelita funeral, my grandma's funeral. I have a picture of my dad crying with the phone here and seeing my grandma dead. And that is something he always has to, he had deep inside him. He still cries because of that, because he wasn't there when she died. He was able to go back to Mexico last year for the very first time in 18 years. And the very first thing that we did once we got to Delicias was going to the cemetery so he can cry over the, how do you say, the tumba? Como,
like a tombstone?
Yes.
Like the grave?
The grave, yeah.
Wow.
So that's one of the many, many stories you will hear from the community.
And from your show.
From my show.
From
I was going to say
show.
yours. No, it's my show.
Your show, your podcast that you're starting. Ilse, thank you so much
Thank
for
you.
everything.
Thank you.
Where do we go from here? What's coming up next for you? What's on the docket? Where do you hope this all goes in the next?
I really
couple.
hope to make a difference through my podcast. I really want to show people nationwide that there are so many rich stories. I want them to learn about the challenge. I want them to learn that the American dream, it's not American dream for all of us. And for most of us, it's not like we came here to pick up money out of the streets. No, it's not like that. And I want to reshape the image that some people have about our communities. We are not all criminals. They should sit and talk to my parents. They should sit and talk to Juanita, who goes to Encuentro to get trained on caregivers, on the caregiver training. You should talk to Marisela, who is one of my community journalists, and she is fighting also against misinformation because she cares about the community. She has empathy. And I have always said that I'm not the voice of anyone, because that's another phrase that a lot of people use in my community, especially in immigrant protest. I'm here because I'm the voice of someone else. I'm like, no, we all have voices. The only thing I'm working on is on amplifying those voices. I'm not here to speak for anyone. I'm here to set the table for them to speak for themselves. We have voices at different volumes. That's right. We have some people who speak a little bit. Help me out.
Like quietly,
softer. Yeah, softer. But that doesn't mean that doesn't have a voice. So you will never hear me say, I'm here to speak for others. No, that's not how I work.
I like that. Ilse, you made it. You made it through your entire first long form interview in English, and you killed it. I appreciate you. Thank you for everything that you do for the community, for the country, because this country was founded by immigrants, and it will continue to last because of immigrants. And we have to do everything in our power to fight the good fight. And I appreciate you.
Amen.
And if is anyone anything you'd like to plug before we go, Encuentro or any of the organizations that you work for that you would like to give a shout out to, or where can people find more resources?
Of course, if you people wants to know more about the bills that are currently put on the table on the legislation, for example, the SB 36, which wants to protect the immigrants' private information. You should go to aclu.org or New Mexico Immigrant Law Center.org. And because privacy, it's a right. It's not a privilege, right? So that's something that it's been fighting on the legislation. If you want to learn more about it, please get engaged in the community. You guys can find me on Facebook, Ilse Grijalva al aire, and I can refer to whatever resource you need.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Ilse. Ladies and gentlemen, Ilse Grijalva. Shout out to the studio. Shout out to the one and only Baby Cakes on the ones and twos, switching the show right over there off camera. And thank you so much for watching, everybody. Until next time, I'm Keith Allen. Have a good night, y'all. Hey,
yay!
You made it.
Soap up here.